Yo, 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 welcome to the Hometeam podcast. My name is Easy Eve. We got my boy Sam, my boy Saeed, Azam, and my boy JD, soon to be JD. All right, so this is episode 9, guys. Saeed saying save the turtles.
I saved the turtles, bro.
Save the turtles and
National Save the Turtle Month.
Is it? Oh, cool. Okay, I didn't even know that. All right, so
It is for me.
It's National Save the Heat from losing the NBA Finals month. Okay.
Or we gonna be? That's so, what we never ending
Juneteenth month.
It's Pride Month. It's Pride Month. That's what it is. And that's why Saeed brought the Turtle Month. All right, so
no, I just made up the Turtle one, dog. This is a shirt from Hawaii, dog.
Man, all right. So we got a couple things for you guys today. We're gonna give a quick warm up as we usually do, and then we've got a special topic. So throughout these next few episodes, up until the 2024 election, we're going to be talking about sort of our top 5 issues when it comes to the political candidacy, I should say, and who we'd vote for. Maybe not even just on the national level, also on the local level,
but we wouldn't vote for.
Yeah, so our top 5 values for who we would vote for and wouldn't vote for when it comes to picking up voting and stuff like that. And then we got a couple extra topics at the end. We're gonna talk about. I don't know if you guys heard about Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Bill Murray, what's going on with them recently. So there's an interesting topic about that.
Zion.
And also we got Zion Williamson as I don't know if you guys seen those tweets and texts. And I forgot what our last topic's supposed to be. What was our last topic supposed
That's
to be?
That's it, I think.
No, we haven't.
Those are the 2 main ones.
Okay.
We have recommendations. Okay. We have recommendations, and then final word after that.
Yeah, final word. All right.
Oh, Diablo, baby.
Oh, it is. It's Diablo. I knew we had a third topic, man. We had a Diablo. Yeah, man. Come on. All right. So, yes or no questions, all right, to warm it up. Yes or no questions. Sorry, it's not yes or no questions. It's you have to just give the answer. No explanations. All right. And I'm going to go clockwise from my end. So I'll go last. It'll be Sam, JD, Saeed. All right. So, Sam, Heat or Nuggets?
I mean,
yeah. I came
based on the down 3-1.
I came up with this question early. Yeah. Who do you want to win?
I want the Nuggets. I want the Heat to win, but Nuggets are going to win.
Okay. JD?
Knowing the facts now.
Heat.
Okay. Saeed?
Jimmy Buckets, baby, all day, but they're going to get clapped. So definitely going Nuggets.
Hey, you guys are terrible in following rules, though. Eve said, answer the question, no explanation. I was the only one that answered the question and did not.
Damn. I thought he said explain.
I'm going to say Nuggets because of Stan Kroenke. All right.
Fuck Stan Kroenke.
Jokic or Nowitzki?
No, Jokic all day.
Okay. JD?
Nowitzki.
Okay. Sam?
Nowitzki.
Saeed? Nowitzki? All right. I think it's Jokic, bro. I think it will.
If you win the ring,
anyway.
If you win the ring, it will be. But
okay, this one.
If there's no Nowitzki, there's no Jokic.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Whoa. Pause.
Sharp or Bayless, Sam?
The Bayless dude right here, bro.
Sharp or Bayless?
Is that even for me? I'm a sharp guy.
Nah, I know.
Can't you see me?
You look like fucking Shannon Sharp
I'm a
today,
sharp
bro.
guy.
All right, it's JD.
Yeah, Shannon Sharp all day.
I'm going to take the third answer that we were not given. Anyone non-Bayless. Doesn't have to be sharp. It could be sharp.
Just by default.
Anybody.
Yeah. All right, Saeed.
The guest? Who's the guest?
The guest. Lil Wayne.
All day.
Sharp
Saeed?
all day, bro.
Sharp.
I'm sorry. Bayless is just. That's not even a question.
All right. Nike or Adidas?
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Are we talking about post Kanye or?
No, we're not talking about anything. We're not talking about anything. I'm talking Nike or Adidas.
It doesn't matter.
Does Jordan count under?
Jordan counts under Nike. Jordan counts under
No,
Nike.
it's Nike.
All right.
It's always been Nike. It will always be Nike.
Mm-hmm.
Victory.
Saeed's gonna say Nike because of Ronaldo.
No,
And
I mean,
LeBron.
I was gonna support my boy Yeezy because Yeezy's still an artist. But
Wow. Hey,
what you mean, bro? Have you ever worn Yeezys? Hey,
Yeezy's ugly.
No explanation. Come on.
Oh yeah, no explanation. All right, check Silver Stripes. Let's go. All right, it's about to be big movie days coming this year, this month. Barbie or Oppenheimer? Barbie or Oppenheimer? Neither? Oh, okay.
Whoa.
Not even Oppenheimer? JD?
I know Oppenheimer.
Nolan, dog.
I don't know what Oppenheimer is.
Okay.
Yeah,
You don't know who Jerry Oppenheimer is? No, that's not Jerry.
I have become Death and the Destroyer of Worlds. It's
Oppenheimer, dog.
He led the research on the Manhattan.
He's a dude that,
Yeah, that's what I thought. The nuclear, right?
started.
Yeah.
It's a documentary over Barbie? Neither still.
Christopher Nolan movie, bro.
Yeah.
Still neither, bro.
Right.
I don't need no history.
Oppenheimer might be on the table, but Barbie's out.
All right.
All day. I mean,
history movie.
It's gonna be yeah, exactly. So it's gonna
Barbie.
it's gonna be
Barbie.
no. It's gonna be a double feature, but Oppenheimer's first. All right, I'm gonna watch 2 movies that day.
Including Barbie.
Including Barbie, when my girl wants to see it.
There it goes. There it goes.
Okay, this one is the final question. What is more important in an outfit? Your shirt or your shoes?
Shoes.
Shoes.
All right, everybody's unanimous. Shoes.
No. Hold on.
Oh, you said shirt? Okay. Oh, interesting. All right. Well, I think
Can I tell
it's
you
shoes.
why?
Yeah, sure. It's the last question.
Go ahead. I want to hear this.
Yeah.
One of those, if you don't have on, people could judge you. One of those, you don't have on, people will judge you.
I'll argue that I would judge somebody who is missing either one of those items.
My point exactly. Somebody that has shoes, right? Somebody that doesn't have shoes, you can be like, okay, maybe he's doing yoga, maybe he's one with the earth. If someone doesn't have a shirt.
No. If I'm running a store and somebody walks in with no shirt and shoes on, I'm cool with it because you're not cutting your feet on glass. There's no liability there. You come in with a shirt on and no shoes, get the fuck out.
What do you see more? No shirt or no shoes? It's just simple as that.
But, no shoes. Hey. I have no shoes on right now. All
right.
Walk over your house, though.
We all have shirts on. How many of us have shoes on?
I walk in the house without a shirt on all the time.
All right, let's get it.
So, moving on to the next topic, which is what are your 5 values when it comes to politics in general? But more importantly, when it comes to picking president, what are your 5 values? For me, I'm just going to say what the top 5 are for me personally. And then especially this election year, some of these are ranked a little bit higher. They're typically the same. They're always going to be the same, but these are a little bit more emphasis. Number 1 is related background, relatability for me. That's just if I don't have any common ground with you or anything like that, I can't. And based on your background in terms of where you came from, what you did, it's hard for me to stand up for you if I don't relate or understand that background where you came from at the end of the day. Number 2 is unifying the country. The 2-party system has its weaknesses, and biggest one being division. Can you bring common ground? Can you meet the other side? Let's say one winning party versus another winning party, and the other losing party. Can you meet them halfway or understand their views and not be disrespectful in terms of that? And then I also value domestic economic policy. Out of all of the policies, that's going to affect me the most because it affects my pocketbook. That's just simple. It's just the way I look at it in terms that's policies, taxes, all of that. Another one will be foreign policies in general. I'm biased on that one. I am a foreigner. In terms of that, I guess immigration rules come from that too. But this part of how U.S. is a great country, and I'm proud to live here, but it has a great impact across the world. So foreign policy is big in terms of we came to America because of U.S.'s foreign policy at the end of the day, me and my family. And lastly, it's another big one that impacts me. That's going to impact me for the rest of my life in terms of who policies as a whole, in terms of image as Americans' image in globally, in terms of economics, socially, and a lot of different issues. What are the long-term ramifications, and what are the long-term impacts of that overall? So, based on that information that I just stated to you, and based on what I have looked up and researched, my current candidate would be Nikki Haley.
Oh, does that mean the first link? Okay.
No, I'm done. That's me being done.
That's you being done?
You
So
don't
you're
know
not
links?
going to expound on your five topics?
I just did. If you didn't hear,
You just
I
said what
said
they
that,
were.
and yeah, why my values towards them are, and why I think they are in my top 5.
Okay. With your top 5, I mean, unifying the country, depending on who you're talking about, I think it's important to unify the country, and that's why we vote, right? So I guess that's like a precondition for all candidates. You need to be able to somehow unify most of the voters to vote for you. So yeah, I think it's important. Um, the relatable background, I'm not so like. There's a lot of identity politics that goes on. Like, for example, let's just take the I think most famous example, right? For example, Hillary Clinton, right? Hillary Clinton ran. Whether you um, voted for her or not, the way she ran her campaign was, hey, look, I'm a woman, first woman candidate, could be the first woman president, so you should vote for me. Or even for a little bit, like, it's always about, for example, George W. Bush. Um, Actually, but that one is not really thing. But like, yeah, there's just a weird thing with some voters in which, oh, you look like me, or we went through the same, we from the same sort of ethnic background or racial background, so you should vote for me, right? But the truth is, like, it really has no bearing on what policies you are going to you're going to prop up, you're going to try to get passed, because you can have the same background as me. I mean, basically, Saeed, we're almost the same ethnically. All four of us here came from the same, grew up in the same place, same sort of economic status. We all don't have the same views, right? If each of us was president, we would do things differently for sure. So it has no meaning to me as a part, as like what your background is, and I shouldn't vote for you just because you were born in the same place as me. Like, that's ridiculous, right? You should have the same values as me. You should agree with me policy wise, and it's all about policy with me. You can say you're pro, like Donald Trump did this a lot. You can say you're gonna, and actually Biden did this too, where he said, "Oh, I'm gonna pass $15 minimum wage. Oh, I'm gonna relieve student debt." So policy-wise, he agreed with me, but he didn't actually do those things. He's almost done with his presidency, and it's the same with Trump. He said he was supposed to be the populist candidate. He did everything. The biggest thing he did was tax cuts for the rich. So he was not populist in that sense. So, and that matters more though. Your background, your what do you call it? Your government experience background matters more than your actual sort of cultural background to me. Domestic economic policy, that is an important one. But I'm a bit of a progressive. Oh, what? No. So to me, there's a lot of people talking about domestic economics, but it seems to me it's for example, on the right wing side, Republican side, it all ends up being cut welfare schemes and cut taxes for the rich, and that's it. Like that's if it boils down to that. And they say there's nuance in that, but there isn't really nuance in that from my experience. And foreign policy is important, especially this candidacy for three big things. One is sustainability. So right now, our sort of sustainability war with China, we can talk more about that when it's my turn to give my 5 policies. Also, right now with the oil sort of situation, we just recently MBS Saudi basically slapped Joe Biden in the face, saying he's not going to be working with Joe Biden as much. They're going to be raising the prices of oil. And that puts the United States in a terrible situation. For me, like for the country, that's not a good thing. But for me, it's like, yeah, well, we should be moving away from oil anyway, right? So there's certain nuances in foreign policy. So of course, foreign policy is important, but it also depends on the issue. I may agree on foreign policy with Ukraine, for example, but I may disagree on foreign policy with Jerusalem, right? So it depends on what foreign policy you're talking about. If you're just talking about foreign policy overall, yeah, of course we want good foreign policy. Like that's a given. So whether it's my top 5 or not, it depends on what are you talking about? Relationship with China, or relationship with Russia, or relationship with Israel, or relationship with Saudi Arabia, or relationship with Iran, right? Those are all different things. So when you say something like foreign policy, yeah, of course we want good foreign policy generally, right? And this is the number one thing. And I agree with Sam here. I do agree with Sam for the most out of his top 5 here. Is how is it going to impact me from day to day? Because I can't really say much, but I think like the reason Joe Biden was actually like probably the best vote, so to me personally, was that when he ran, he actually had a policy and ran on relieving student loan debt. And that would have been the biggest thing a president would have ever done for me personally, right? But it hasn't happened yet, and it's looking like it's not going to pass because the cronies on the Democratic side are actually voting against those reliefs. Anyway, no, but I'm just talking about my impact in day-to-day life. Like Barack Obama was probably number 2 or number 1 if the student loan thing doesn't get passed with the Obamacare, right? But it wasn't enough. So that thing is very important to me, but it seems like on most of the issues that people debate about, things that actually impact me on a day-to-day basis, even if it's the Democrats or the Republicans, they debate about it all day, all night, but at the end of the day, it doesn't even affect me directly. Indirectly, maybe over time, but directly, no. So, for example, we talked about the trans issue a few episodes ago, and it's not going to affect me personally, probably ever. Okay.
Allegedly.
But it's because of values, right? We want to live in a country that adheres to our values, so we need to impose our values on other people. So that's why we care about this issue. But actually, like, it hasn't affected like my safety. It hasn't affected my bank account. It hasn't affected my neighborhood. And I don't have kids, so it hasn't impacted my kids. Like Saeed might have a different take on that because it's going to be more pressing for him when his kids start going to school, right? So, yeah, I mean, yeah, those are very general top 5 in my opinion. I think it's given me something to think about when I do my top 5 later on. So, Saeed, what about you?
I got a question. So do you have anything there that should be in there or shouldn't be in there?
Yeah, I got a lot, and I think I'm going to talk about my top 5, in a different episode.
Okay.
So for the most part on my end, right, I 100% agree with almost all your top 5, except the one that I necessarily don't see as much as being top 5 is the assimilation aspect and the background aspect, right? I think he put it in a great way where he said identity politics, right? We voted for Kamala Harris, and she gave a speech about being USBs on a bus, and she was more excited about it than the people that ride those buses every day, right? I almost look just like her, but wow. she is on a different level, right? So I think that part is just like this, to me especially, doesn't really necessarily matter. But what I would say is personally, right, what I look at is honesty, right? We could say all these things. We're going to hear all these things in the upcoming elections. We heard that from Biden. We heard that from Trump. They get behind that chair in the Oval Office and they do fuck all. Let's be honest, right? Every time, right? Obama did the same thing. But like in today's society, right? Like you're going to have this presidential candidate that's going to say everything to your face, right? And then do the exact opposite once you get to that place because it's going to benefit them and their agenda, right? We're the hopeless romantics that'll fall in love with these fools and be like, yes, he's going to do this. And they get into office. You're like, fuck, that's exactly the opposite of what you said you would do, right? So I think personally, to me, it's like straight to your word, right? Stay honest. I think it's great to have like the, unifying the country. Obviously, you always want that in a candidate, right? But you want to have it in a unbiased manner where it's not like essentially fully right wing, fully left wing. Why don't we have someone meet in the middle? Right. That's what I want to see. Right. I like not necessarily the better of two evils, but the necessary evil. Right. And the monetary policy, the foreign policy. Right. All these things are really crucial in the overall health of the society within the nation. Right. 100% agree that we need to have somebody that has those strong views, I guess you can say, but realistic views. Right. Because at the end of the day, someone has to get shafted. Right. I think that's a political leader. That's something that most people don't realize. There's always going to be decisions where someone's going to get fucked. I don't want to say my catchphrase on this one because I don't want to get canceled, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like it's a matter of fact. Like it's which is going to be necessarily the least tarnishing to my reputation. That's essentially what we look at, right? That's where all these false promises come in and they get behind like the role and it's like, well, shit, you didn't do anything, right? For example, Biden, right? We talk about his foreign policy, fam. He just cut the whole thing at the border, right? Like he's deported almost just as many people as Trump had in his days. Okay, now we basically cut those COVID policies, and now all those people just getting deported, not even let into the country, right? Yeah. And what did he champion? He championed borders are going to be open. F the wall. Okay, you just took the physical wall down to put a non-physical barrier up there for them, right? Like you didn't do anything different, right? But you preached that you would.
It's a great point.
And I think that's one of the. That's the biggest thing for me, right? Like, we're going to hear, I'll get to the Nikki Haley thing too, because I like looked at her stuff and it's like, bro, there's nothing about you that stands out. You look at Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton's the whole campaign was based off of Obama's campaign, where it's like, so you're not bringing shit new to the table.
But she's a woman.
Go kill kids.
She's a woman.
Well, sorry, right? That's it, right? And the only difference between that and Nikki Haley is she is a brown woman that was born here and not a Caucasian woman, right? But like the couple of things that I do want to just bring up before we jump on to the Nikki Haley thing is I think, the Sam did mention one of the biggest things is how does it impact me day to day, right? That right there, I think is my point. What I'm trying to make is that is what makes more, that's what appeals to me more. And that's what matters to me more than anything else, right? What kind of impact do you play on my daily life, my daughter's life, my wife's life, my family's life, right? It's that at the end of the day dictates everything. I mean, I don't care about your foreign policy. If your foreign policy is me living broke, then I could give a fuck all about you, right? That right there is why I think you said it. Obamacare and Joe Biden's student loan, right? How has either one of those two benefited you, right? You don't have to answer that now, but out of all four of us, how many has that really benefited us? I didn't really have student loans because I paid for that shit and I worked hard for that shit. Obamacare I don't use because God bless it, I got a job. But you know what did help me? $1,400, baby. And there's only one man that gave that to us, boy. But my point being, though, right? Like, it's the day-to-day stuff, right? Now, granted, does that justify his whole presidency? Hell no, right? But from the average person's view, right, the one that is trying to live day-to-day, that is living paycheck to paycheck, you think they care about student loan forgiveness when they didn't go to school? No, they care about that $1,400 because they got to go feed their baby and the formula is out. And they got to pay now extra for that. They need to make rent. So that's what they're going to utilize, right? And I think that's where it comes into play because all these people will do that one thing. They'll be like, yes, that was greatness right there, right? And hopefully, Biden could do something like that as well. But the point being, though, it's just the day-to-day thing matters the most, right? But now moving gears towards Nikki Haley, right? So I'm not going to lie to you. I had no idea who Nikki Haley was, apart from the fact that she was born to immigrant parents here in the U.S., right? But let's start to do some research, man. I'm sorry, bro. Like, this is the most typical, hypocritical, opportunistic next conservative person to run, right? Like, I mean, look at what she's brought to the table, right? I mean, sure, yes, I respect the immigrant background. I myself am an immigrant. My parents were both immigrants, come here, lived through the struggle, right? Came up to where to be at. But then, like, just what makes her stand out, though? Is that, like you said, identity? Is that what I'm voting for her now because she is something that I could assimilate to, right? I mean, if I look at her foreign policy, right, she supported Saudi Arabia versus Yemen. Yemen's got like 4 camels, okay, against 17 F-16s. Do you think 4 camels are going to do any damage? Good luck, right? Yemen right now has one of the worst conditions of life known to man over there. And guess what? They're getting bombed daily. Now, if you support that, that's, I mean, your choice is your choice. But I mean, just read about that. Then it was the hypocrisy comes in, right? Like she's jumping from like one opportunity to another opportunity, right? When Trump was winning all that stuff, yep, she voted for Trump, like she was with Trump, right? When he lost the election, it must be fucking fraud, right? It's got to be fraud, right? Because Trump said so. And now that she's running against Trump, it's like, well, fuck Trump. I can't believe you can question something like that. And well, let's be honest, right? You live in a nation where this is all possible because we have free democracy, right? To ponder if that is fraud is to ponder the flag that we respect, right? Like personally, that's what it is to me. Unless there's like concrete proof of like, yes, there was some real fraud, right? Like hearsay is hearsay. Economic reform wise, she came out and said that when she does get into office, one of the things that she wants to do is raise the retirement age for kids in their 20s, right? Like, bro, why, fam? Like, you're telling me as if we don't work enough already. We can't afford to buy houses. We can't afford to buy a lot of the luxuries that our forefathers did. But let's go ahead and retire even later now. Like, come on, right? And then this is a direct quote: "Veto any bill that does not take us back to pre-COVID era." Like, this is the post-COVID era for a reason because COVID happened. Do I necessarily? I mean, we have said that for different podcasts, the ramifications or whatever did occur, right? But like, we're never going back to that era again, right? There's a reason why that was, pre-COVID, and now we're post-COVID. Things have changed, a lot of detriment everywhere, but there's like a couple of things, right? Like she did say that both parties do waste a lot of money, and we need to come up with a better budgeting program for like government-wise, right? 100% agree with that. But the aspect of just doing that in a favor of the bigger pockets, like, come on, right? Like personally, I just don't think there is anything original about her, right? One of the things that I was reading in South Carolina, right? If you look at South Carolina right now, they're number 45 in the highest low-pay job growth in the state, right? And this goes directly back to her because I read an article where she gave $400 million or $800 million in like tax incentives, tax breaks, incentives, and grants to 4 companies that brought out 8,000 jobs. Are those 8,000 people millionaires? If my math is right, would that make each one of them a millionaire? Or at least earning 80,000, right? Is that correct? No, 100,000. They would gain 8,000, so it'd be $10 million each, right? No, 65% of those jobs, they pay $15 an hour, bro, right? And she has championed that as I bring jobs to South Carolina. Personally, right? I don't know who the right candidate is. I can't tell you that, but I just feel like Nikki Haley's just one of those opportunistic ones that's going to come up, going to get flattened in the primaries, and we're never going to hear about her again. So yes, I do personally agree that she probably just running off this identity politics. You assimilate with me because I'm an immigrant, or I was born to an immigrant parent, but you don't really bring anything else. Because I can tell you right now, I don't make $200,000 a year. But you know who does make $200,000 a speech? Nikki Haley. Right? So what assimilation do I have with that? Your pockets run deeper than my whole life does. Just because you look like me, it doesn't necessarily mean I have to agree with anything that you say or anything that you do. But that's my 2 cents on this.
So to discuss the top 5, right? I think this is a quality list as far as things that you should look at for a candidate. Couple caveats to that is that, like, I know that in a lot of presidential elections, like, they ask, like, a lot of pollsters will ask, like, could you see yourself drinking a beer with this guy? Like, does he seem relatable, right? And that was one of the points that we have on there that Sam had on there. And I think it is like it definitely plays into like the subconscious of the masses, right? Like, whether or not they relate to someone is definitely going to impact like whether or not they vote for them, right? But I think from an unbiased perspective, like, I would value competency over relatability, right? Like if there was somebody that like was, socially awkward, or, like if you think about like Elon Musk, right? Like, not that I would say that not voting for him for president, but what I'm saying is that like he has some social awkwardness, right? But he has some technical abilities, right? So while I wouldn't be able to connect with him, or, like we might not be like, oh yeah, we're chilling, we're bros, we could kick it back. That's a guy I'd hang with. Like, it's to me, it's more about like your ability to do the job, right? And if I feel confident in your abilities, relatability is less impactful. But I think that like from the consumers at large, that is definitely going to impact it. Unifying the country being one on the list, I really love that. I think that, like especially since 2012, 2016, 2020, I think we've seen a trend towards polarization where you have the sides getting further apart from each other, left and right, right? And like it used to be a point in 2008 and 2004, like where you look for candidates that were the least objectionable, right? The people that were the most moderate. We've gone against that, right? I think that it's been more about like vocalizing your base and things like that. And I would like to see a candidate that can bring people together. And we've been talking about Haley, and I like, as a Democrat, I think that she is like one of the few candidates I could reach across the aisle and feel confident. Like I don't see eye to eye or on every point. I don't think, I'm not saying that she's the perfect candidate, but like given, like lesser of worse evils, right? That's usually an equation that you ask yourself, right? Like if there was going to be a Republican that was going to be president, I would be absolutely okay with it. Like I don't have an issue. I think that she does a lot of things really well. And that I think that like when you pick a candidate, there are going to be deficits regardless of who you talk to. They're going to have strengths. They're going to have weaknesses. Everyone has deficits. Her deficits don't seem, abnormally large or anything like that. I think that she'd be a, terrific candidate. As far as domestic economic policy, I agree with a lot of the terms that you talked about as far as solidifying our supply chain for medicine, like things that are necessary, right? Like China makes a lot of our medicine, and I'm okay with her, I'm okay with China making t-shirts, like she said during the town hall, but not necessarily okay with them being like the place that we need to grab vital medicines from, right? Like if anything were to pop off, we want them to have the least amount of leverage, right? So we want them to be making useless things that we buy up, but we don't want them to be, making the chips, the medicines, the thing, all those N95 masks, right, come from China. Like if something popped off, you want all those like critical supply chains to be in-house because, at a time where people like COVID, what did we see? No trust between countries. We didn't trust China's data. We didn't trust anything coming from other people. So like and at a time where like everything's like scarce, where you can't get masks, you can't get supplies, like you don't want to be reliant on another team. Like you want that to be in-house. So I see eye to eye with that. The only discrepancy I really saw was like there seems to be like a lack of knowledge from her standpoint as far as like medical care in the country. Like they pressed her on doing the shootings that had happened recently and behavioral health. And I feel like she correctly recognizes there's a problem. There's not enough providers, but she says things like, oh, like, most health insurance won't cover like, behavioral health people and things like that. And it's not an insurance coverage thing, right? Like if you go back to even like 2008, they enacted MAPIA, right? Which is a mental health parity law where like they require insurance companies to, at first it was required the insurance companies to have the same stringency as far as like what kind of prior authorizations or any type of like, they were trying to take away the barriers to get mental health in there, right? And then so they get rid of that barrier, and then people still have issues getting services, right? And so they enact, the CAA came out, the Consolidated Appropriations Act, and I think it was 2020 or 2021, right? They changed the budget and basically required that there's somewhat equal spending, not dollar for dollar, but that there's, basically the government's been trying to figure out how do we find a way a way to allow people to get the mental health services that they need, right? But the real issue isn't the prior auths. It's not the spending that the insurance companies are paying on. It's literally a deficit in providers. Like if you go back to 2008, like we had not enough mental health providers then, right? And it's only gotten worse. Like there aren't there aren't the incentives to go in to be a psychologist like there are to be a physical doctor, right? Like you're going to take away more money, right? And at the end of the day, money plays, right? Money is an incentive for people to do things, right? And the real issue is that we don't have enough mental health providers, right? So we need to find a way to facilitate that learning, that accreditation, and getting people involved. And I feel like not just Haley, I feel like across both aisles, across the aisle, there's an issue with candidates understanding what the deficit is. Obviously, everyone recognizes we have mental health issues in this country, right? There's all these shootings that are going on, there's things that are happening, but nobody really has an adequate, sufficient response, right? The real thing is that, if you try to get, in East Lansing, for instance, you try to get into an office with somebody, it's going to take you months, and chances are, you're going to have to work your way up the chain to get into somebody that might be adequately able or equipped to deal with whatever issues. If you're not going to get into a clinical psychologist, right? There's very few of them. So most of the time you come in at the social worker stage, things like that, which are necessary safeguards. But the only reason why that's in place is because we don't have sufficient clinical psychologists to deal with the whole problem, right? So you go through loops, right? And a lot of people will go through the first hoop and give up. And that's why these people aren't being treated, right? It's not a matter of whether or not insurance is covering it. I work in an insurance company. If the claim comes in, it's getting paid. There's no issue with that. The issue is in every single county, we're not meeting marks, and nobody's meeting marks. I mean, the country at large is not meeting marks for having sufficient providers there, right? So what is the solution? And it's going to take a long time, but it's like any other workforce issue. If you're short on electricians or you're short on plumbers, you incentivize those programs to get people there, right? So maybe you make the clinical psych route, some type of you enact more grants, or you incur, you provide some type of financial incentive for people to go into that industry. And I think that would be an appropriate response, especially with where we're at now. I mean, it should have happened, 14, 16 years ago, but the fact remains that it is still an issue within this country that we're not necessarily dealing with. And to go back with Haley, I appreciate her foreign policy. I think that her time at the UN and I think that she's one of the few people that I think her strong stance against Russia and China is an adequate, is a sufficient response that could fare very well. And I like the fact that she's an accountant. I think that she's one of the few politicians that will tell you she's going to balance the budget and actually do it. I think that a lot of people love to say that line. The government spends too much money. It's something that everyone can get behind, but I think that he is one of the few people that has a track record of actually following through on that. So I appreciate that. And then to summarize, like I said, I think the list is solid. I think those are quality things that we need to look into a candidate. I don't know if necessarily they would be my top 5. I think that they would be in my top 20 somewhere, right? But I also think it is, vague in nature. I think there's domestic economic policy is definitely a big thing, but that means something drastically different to a lot of people, right? So I think that when you pick when you do it, it should be a plan and not a broad approach, I guess. But that's what I got, boys. And also, I think that just for the record, I think that Saeed summarized the foreign policy fairly inaccurate, but I'm going to leave it at that.
Wait for Saeed's turn.
That is a Nazi.
wait for Saeed's turn. You can debate
one guy that was pro Adidas is now going to call me a Nazi.
Man, hold on. I think we missed a bigger picture though.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Sam. Go ahead, Sam. Sorry. We'll go
in
ahead.
terms of that, so I thought there would be more backlash. So I would prepare for more backlash than necessary. So I'll just quickly talk about some of them, and then I'll respond to some of the things that you guys said in terms of that. So in terms of foreign policy, since that's where you left off, one thing her foreign policy is pretty strong both on China and Russia in terms of that, which I feel like China is an imminent threat. Russia is just an old saying, Cold War, or whatever. That's not something that I am just stop Russia right away or anything. But Russia's a problem, don't get me wrong, in terms of that. But I'm not saying that it's good, but she's strong on both. It's not what I want to prioritize. But so that's something of a difference between, I'd rather prioritize China but she's strong on both in terms of her deal on that. Uh, she did make some sayings about China's comment against genocide against Muslims and other topics like that, and it was one of her focus. But she also said Russia and Ukraine. She's adamant saying that we have to be in the Ukraine fight because it's a fight for freedom ultimately. Which I'm not pro Ukraine so much. I'm not saying don't help them, but the amount that we help them is a lot, a little too much in my opinion. She also pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal, which while she was national secretary, you could say that was some Trump or not in terms of that aspect, in terms of that. And I do want to, and then one thing that I do like about her is her tax policy. John hit it in terms of not raising taxes, but reducing the debt and by reducing spending. A lot of people say that, but who's actually going to do it? It's tough. So that's who I think she's going to actually do it. In terms of one thing, also in terms of unification, I did want to point out we'll circle back. So somebody was graced when they actually play this political game. You can play it dirty or you can play it respectfully. And I can't say Trump did it well. I can't say even Biden did it well. It's been very dirty in terms of that. I don't think she would go with more of the Obama route. When they punch low, we'll go high in terms of that. Even Hillary was kind of dirty in terms of that. So it's something that we haven't seen in a little while, which is usually an act presidentially. It used to be a thing, which is not a thing right now. I think she said it when this leads to the next thing. She's been wishy-washy on Trump throughout her opinion, which is good and bad for society's point in terms of being opportunistic, in terms of being wishy-washy on Trump. When initially when he ran in 2016, she was saying that he plays way too dirty, I don't support him, and then rode his coattail when he ended up being president and getting elected. And then when January 6th immediately happened, she was completely off that bandwagon, saying that the GOP will move on without him in terms of, I don't support January 6th in terms of that. So it's wishy-washy on that. I don't like that, but I do like the fact that she said the January 6th thing was because of Trump and distanced herself from that. So I do like that aspect of that. I did want to, he mentioned in terms of the background and relatability. Some of that is, of course, where you came from and your family and stuff like that. But that also comes into also the social economic stance. It's hard for me to relate with somebody who didn't go through a social economic stance bit because her parents and dad came to study in Canada first before coming to the U.S. So it's not like they came here very super uber wealthy in terms of that. So there was some social economic stance part of that is part of that. And also though, but background is also like what you did in political office for me also. When you were in office, what was your history in terms of power? One of the main reasons why I didn't vote for Biden, I didn't vote last election. I couldn't vote for Trump again. I couldn't vote for Biden. If he had gotten the Georgia, it's Stacey Adams, I would have voted for him if he had gotten Stacey Adams. The moment he got Kamala, I was out. Even though she's black and woman, she had a history and a background of oppressing African Americans, which is relatability for me in terms of that. When you're oppressing, and not just my people, I'm not saying, but people of minority in general, that's your history and that's part of your background in terms of that. But one thing that I do differentiate her from, Obama ran and he didn't run saying, I'm the first black president. That wasn't the speech. The media ran and took off was that story in terms of that. That's just the media hitting magazines. But that's not Obama's shape. The difference between him and Hillary ran saying, I'm going to be the first woman. That was part of her campaign. And she hoped that media would run and that would carry her weight and not her political history. When it comes to Nikki Haley, when she's asked about different experiences, she brings up that her dad wore turban. But she doesn't run away with that in terms of some people even criticize her for not using her last name and saying she's trying to say Nikki's not her real name. Nikki is her real name, and she married, so that's why she has a different last name than her dad. But Nikki is her real name in terms of that. But there's, like John said, though, there's a big factor in it saying that she came from the social economic foreign class in terms of that. And there's and her being a woman in terms of the struggles that she had to go through, not just being a minority, but being in two minority groups in terms of that. So, and then when you said I don't vote for that, but presidential election, there's been one black guy and a bunch of white men. So it's not like you have a lot of opportunities to vote for your background, social, economic. Even most of them are wealthy. By the time they get to that level, most of them are wealthy anyways, in terms of that. None of them, yeah, in terms of that. Or they become wealthy real quick, like AOC, in terms of once you get in. And then one of you guys mentioned that Nikki Haley, the president's about the best person the best candidate. Sorry, the best person for the job should be president, is what in terms of one of you guys said that. In a political race, that's not the case. I can name you Tim Cook, I think, would be a better president than most of these candidates. Chief Steve Jobs, when he was alive, I think would have been a better president. In terms of, I think, what's his name? Jamie Dimons, I think, would be a better president in terms of that. Then I think even Adam Silver would be a better president than some of these people. In running and being cohesive and balanced in multiple different situations, instead of, I don't think there's, some of these are more triggered, but I'm saying the overall pool of candidates is what I'm saying. Not saying that we've had. So it's not always the best person for the job that's going to be nominated or wants to run for president in general. It's the only point I'm saying in terms of that. From what that we have available, that's who I would pick in terms of the good. And so for the one thing John mentioned, mental health is pretty high on my list in terms of that topic, but I didn't put it in my top 5 in terms of that. So that's a pro Nikki in terms of she wants to focus on that in terms of that. And then Saeed mentioned the Saudi Arabia issue against Yemen. I just want to point out, I don't think there's many presidents that would go against Saudi Arabia, Republican or black. There's not. That's our biggest oil partner. There's not going to be many presidents that are going to be like, we don't support Saudi Arabia in terms of that's just bad foreign policy. It doesn't matter what party you're in or how it looks. It just looks bad in terms of that.
Bitch.
Man, hold up. Okay, after you, I got it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I think it would be fair if you guys should say something, but I do want to just read something, and I'll leave on those pictures and video, and we'll go. So in 2018, she said this, and part of her background and history, to a group of high schoolers. Real leadership is about persuasion. It's about a movement. It's about bringing people around your point of view, not trying to shout them down, not trying to show them up, or by showing them how it is their best interest to see things the way that you see it at the end of the day. And that's the way she defines real leadership. In 2018, I think that she stood by that up to now. And then, so this is going straight and playing into your rebuttals on identity politics, but it has to be shown, in my opinion. She doesn't run on this, but it has to be shown in terms of the first one being her family. You want to pull that up, Eve? Her immediate family. Well, I guess in terms of her. Oh, the video. Yeah, play the video first. Yeah, that makes better sense. Yeah.
You grew up in a small town.
It's just 2 minutes.
Bamberg, South
we can't
Carolina,
hear it.
And you have said that you.
Man, this is so cringe.
Oh, damn.
Did you watch the video?
No, I just 8 seconds into it.
You gave it to us, and you're like, don't worry about it.
It plays right into what you guys said, but I think it's still good for people who don't. It doesn't get played much in national news, though. Mainstream media.
Bamberg, South Carolina.
Even though this is.
And You have said that you were always aware that you and your family were different. You've said we were always other. What was that like growing up, and what kinds of lessons did it teach you?
I think you grow up in a small town, and your father wears a turban, your mother wears a sari. We look different. Everybody treated us different. When it came to taking standardized tests, there was black, white, and other. We were always an other. So there were a lot of reasons that we looked and felt different. But it was in that small town that I'm very grateful, because my parents reminded us that it's not about how you're different, it's about you're similar.
You always seem to be able to talk about people treating you differently, and yet your family's ability to transcend it. But you also say that as a child, you would see people sort of staring at your dad, and even in one case, the police were called because he was just shopping at a roadside stand. And you said it made you sad for him.
It did make me sad, because I knew that they didn't know him the way I knew him, and I knew that they were, whatever fear or concern they had, I knew wasn't warranted. But at the same time, while I talk about those differences, it's in that environment, in that state of South Carolina, that I watched them change. I saw the evolution. I saw how they wanted...
The people in the community, not your parents.
Right. They wanted to know more about our family. They listened when we talked about how we were similar. As South Carolina changed, you didn't see the strange looks and all of those things happen anymore when he would go to the store, if he would go anywhere else. There's always going to be some of that, but the welcoming spirit took over as I grew up. And so there's a real appreciation for, while we felt different, we were accepted over time. And that's something that we were always...
You can cut it there. Oh, the cut itself.
I just want to say...
two more pictures and I'm done in terms of that. So this is her immediate family, was her daughter and son. First question you guys... The first question that you guys asked was the first thing that I asked, in terms of who's a young brother in there, in terms of that. They recently got married.
Well, that's not what I asked at all.
I'm just going to, you know what I'm saying? I was just like, so I looked it up. They recently got married. Both of them work well. They just recently bought the house. But that's her daughter's husband. And homeboy is a junior or about to be a senior, her youngest kid, in terms of that. The bro, in terms of that. So the way that she taught, the way that she said that video, in terms of that, she taught her kids also to value different, in terms of that. And then one more picture, just so we know, because as I know I have a picture of my parents, just like that, in terms of that picture. It's just, we have a picture in a wall, just like that.
Family has a photo, dog. She's not the only one, bro.
Pretty much.
Ford family.
Pretty much.
She's not the only one.
What? Yeah, every foreigner got one of those.
That's what I'm saying.
The dad in the center,
Yeah.
At the end of the day, in terms of I know. And we're not a single politics guy. Then we'll just be voting on guns, or voting on abortion, or voting on pride or gay threat. That's what I'm not that. You know what I'm saying? Even though I believe in certain things on that, if it's pro-life or no, I know that. That's not I'm not a single issue guy in terms of, but this plays a factor in me, because I don't see that in that 50 years that we've had presidents at the end of the day. I only saw it once when I saw Obama, and I hate everybody says I'm voting for Obama because he's black. I hated it with an adamant passion. That means you didn't do the work at the end of the day.
Yeah,
but
my Lambo is black.
I do like seeing that. That's all I'm saying.
Lambo's
Go ahead.
blue.
I mean, it's only fair that you guys should get a quick rebuttal too, though.
Let me just take 30 seconds. I just want to take 30 seconds. I just want to say that was the biggest crocodile tear bullshit I've ever seen in my life. And Sam, you said the word persuasion, right? That's her quote was to persuade through leadership. But congratulations, she has persuaded these morons to vote for her, because this chick makes probably more with 1 hour of speech than probably all of us do in a year. And here we are trying to fucking worship the ground that she walks on. And I just feel like this is all just, I understand why you would fall for somebody like that. I totally understand why. But like, just, It
You
just
know,
doesn't
every
bode well.
politician gets paid that, though. Every politician
Exactly.
gets paid that.
Exactly. But the issue is, right, like she's trying to run for the count. I'm different, right? But it's like, yo, there's nothing different about you, right? If I put glitter on shit, it's still shit, but it just has glitter on it. If I put an orange wig on shit, it's still shit, but it has an orange wig on it.
For me, it's like I understand if those are your main top 5, then it makes sense, right? Why you'd lean towards Nikki Haley. And I don't want to expound on this too much because I think eventually I'll do a top 5, and we'll reevaluate the candidates based on my top 5, right? And everybody will do that, hopefully, So because for me, like, yeah, there are certain things that we mentioned today, but it wasn't brought up in the town hall, or it was brought up in the town hall, but we didn't talk about today. So I don't want to bring that up and just, because the focus is on your values, and for me, Nikki Haley, I would say though, like, even though I'm still probably wouldn't vote for her because of certain things, and we'll talk about that later in a different episode, but I do think, like John said, like, right now there's 3 candidates on the Republican side. We have a criminal. There's
like 20 of them.
We have
there's three legitimate ones.
Yeah. So we have a criminal,
one
criminal
is
rapist.
Facing charges in New York and South Florida.
Yeah, criminal rapist, and then we have woke mind virus. That's his only issue. I'm against woke mind virus. You ask him about the military, I'm against woke mind virus. You ask him about education and Disney, woke mind virus, right? So that guy's out. So we have like the bare minimum of like a decent candidate on the Republican side. And I am, whether I vote for her or not, I am interested to see how she'll fare in the primaries, because if she does win, then that's like a step towards unification, I guess, right? Instead of polarization, which JD brought into perspective earlier. I had a second point in there, which I completely forgot. So maybe JD, you want to say something first?
Yeah, so I know I went last. I don't have too much of a rebuttal, but I do have some hypocrisy I need to point out, right? We talked about, like, and I will say it's normal human nature, right? I think that it's understandable behavior, but I think that there's, like, from a substantive standpoint, there's no difference between Obama, Hillary, and Nikki talking about what they bring to the table. It's different, right? Like, you said that you had an issue with Hillary saying, like, oh, I'm the first woman. She explicitly said it, right? That might have drawn some issues, right? But if we're being honest, every politician is out there, and, like, Obama didn't say I'm the black guy, right? He said I'm here for change, right? What did change mean? Change meant not a white guy, right? Like, I think that was something we all understood. Like, I'm saying, like, he didn't explicitly say it, but, like, we all knew when he said I'm here for change. What does it mean? Like, change from the norm, right? And Hillary said it explicitly, like, oh, I'm the woman, right? Nikki doesn't say it explicitly. She goes, yo, I'm not here to say, oh, I'm something, right? But, like, my dad did wear a turban. I went through something. Like, so I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to discount what she went through. It's a valuable experience. But what I'm saying is that every politician will lean on their personal experiences and say something, whether or not they say, you should vote for me because I'm a woman, or they say, you should vote for me because I went through, I was a Muslim in the South, and we know how difficult that is. Like, every politician is going to lean on it. The only thing is people back Hillary because Hillary's not a likable fucking person. Like, let's be honest. Like, nobody likes her.
Wait, John, that's a great point, though.
Pokemon
just like the guy, I hate to say it, but, like, just like the guy popped in my head, R.I.P. and all respectfully, but the guy that said I was captured for 50 years and that kept running for the Republicans, he was
captured.
John McCain.
John McCain.
John McCain was a POW.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. But that's what he ran on. No, wait, before you go, I have one more thing on Sam's value thing. The one I forgot earlier. Oh. The thing was, like, one of, like, this exact thing, the identity politics thing, is really, like, a non-issue to me. I like, whether you grow up poor, I understand that it signals certain values, but, like, it has no bearing on the policy you're going to when you get into office. It tells me nothing about the types of policies you're going to vouch for. One of the great, let's look at the opposite way. The greatest president ever in the history of the United States, in my opinion, is Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He didn't grow up poor, bro. He was a fucking rich ass motherfucker.
That's a good point.
He's a
All
rich.
of it
He's
was
a
rich, though.
yeah, but no, but he was born rich.
exactly.
Like,
Single poor motherfucker, bro. They want to be relatable.
I understand.
Not one
That's
of
a
them
good
grew
point.
up in
Yeah,
the system.
but FDR did a lot brought the country out of the depression and start like basically the beginning of World War II. So and those social programs, Medicare and Social Security, remain the most popular programs in America on both Republicans and Democrats. And he was not
from a wheelchair. All from a wheelchair.
Yeah, and so what I mean
That
to
was
say
later.
yeah,
one question though.
Yeah.
If Michelle Obama ever runs, she grew up in the hood. If Michelle Obama ever runs, I'm voting for it just solely because she grew up in the hood.
She is, bro. God damn.
Did the Republicans put
Solely because she grew up in the hood.
Republicans talk about her though. There would be no across the aisle.
Have you seen how yoked her back is, though? Michelle, that's the only reason I'm voting for her.
That's the shit I'm talking about.
Can I tell you guys?
My bad.
No, that's okay. No, my landing was so. What I mean to say.
Two questions for y'all though. Close this out.
I was gonna land hard.
Oh, go ahead.
My landing was it has no bearing on how they're gonna vote. So to me, when I see some things like that, I can't sort of just phase it out. Like I have to, because I might get attached if I didn't. Also, I have a secret. Like I know I'm all liberal lefty.
Oh no!
But for foreign policy though, like.
Oh, thank God.
Sometimes I do be thinking like, yo, Russia be fucking up, and I kind of want to vote for someone who will push that button and say fuck the world, like if it comes down to it, because I don't want America.
Russia's getting their ass beat, bro. Russia getting their ass beat.
She was the first one to sanction them.
Wait, you're pro-Ukraine then?
Huh?
What?
I'm anti-spending on Ukraine.
Anti-Ukraine, you're anti.
Okay, I'm joking. Go ahead.
All right,
say yeah.
Bro. Okay. Yo, been to a roadside stand before?
No.
Okay. So I have.
How many roadside stands you been on?
I've been to 3 actually. 2 were in Hawaii, 1 was in Cali, right? And the one in Cali has some beautiful ass strawberries, and I was like, I gotta try this out, right?
Now, those are everywhere here. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
Obviously.
You drive over to St. John's, they're everywhere.
No. So the one, right. In Hawaii, when I stopped by, right, I was like the only odd one out, right? Because everybody either like Hawaiian or like the native people, right? But not once in those 3 fucking times did someone look at me and call the cops on me, because that's the biggest bullshit I've ever heard right there, bro. Who the hell goes to a stand at the side of a road and then calls the cops because the other person looks different? I call bullshit.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Bro, that was she was 7.
Story, bro.
She was 7.
That was like 50 years ago.
She's 50. Bro, that was 50 years ago, and he was wearing a turban.
All right. So
where's the hijab?
Are we good? Are we good? So
South Carolina's a different place, man.
All right.
More coming up.
Yeah. So we'll continue this. We'll continue this when we get to the next person's values. Yeah. So before we've spent a bit long time. So
let's just run through these.
Let's just talk about Diablo 4.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's already been 2 hours, bro. Yeah.
So what's good? What's good, you guys? Well, let's just say what level we're all on right now. What level are you at, Saeed?
35.
JD?
36.
As of now, 27.
Sam?
32.
Okay.
Whatever, it was like 3 days ago. Yeah.
Oh no! What about your build? Sorry, you're a necromancer, Saeed.
I have the best build in the game, Jaduran. The best build, the most balanced all around. If you want somebody to do up close,
clean up.
That's
or
not true at all.
if you want somebody up close and range, that's the guy. Yeah. If you playing it by yourself, that's the guy. You don't have to rely on some teammates. You can just
Nikki
run through by yourself.
No,
in a room full of hyperbole, I'm gonna stay humble.
My guy runs through shit by himself. So either I'm with you guys or
you
not.
didn't run through shit, bro.
Are you serious?
You're a one hit wonder, bro. You got hit once.
No, me and JD like never died except for like once. You and Sam and Saeed's guys.
I in my fifth element.
You never died because me and Sam were fighting the fucking
no,
people. Y'all ran the fucking
I murked these people. I destroy them.
And
anyway,
I'm
a sorcerer. I'm a frost build sorcerer. I am now level 40. So,
the thing is the intricacy that
you're level 40.
Yeah, I'm level 40. Yeah. Bro,
y'all hear this?
I'm running.
Slid that.
I level up so fast, bro. Yeah, I level up so fast, bro, because my dude's just.
Oh, you mean you put in the most hours in right now?
Probably a little bit, yeah, maybe a little bit. I was playing it while watching the Champions League last night.
Bro, hey, man. Shout out to all my
weird because he said he was moving and shit. He didn't have time to do some
No,
stuff.
I did. I was
40.
During the first half, I moved everything in, and I saw the second half and played a bit.
Don't you find it ironic that Romelu Lukaku started banging Megan Thee Stallion and lost the Champions League, dog?
No, that's exactly what I expect. Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on. So off topic, but Eve, did you recently escape from a hospital?
Why?
What's with the gown?
Gown? What gown?
Looks like you're wearing a medical gown.
Oh no, it's a t-shirt, bro. All right. So yeah. So check out Diablo IV.
Recommendations. So obviously we're recommending.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Obviously we are recommending.
And as a group, we are recommending Barbarian as your first class. Obviously.
Don't pick the Druid because that's the Nikki Haley of Diablo. Nothing special.
Hey, you know what they say about having haters?
Hey,
they become appreciators later on. Anyways, so do we have any other recommendations? I will do. I gave a book recommendation last time, so I'll do a show recommendation. Something fun, something to pass out to and enjoy, and is hilarious. Is that Barbecue Showdown? Is it called, John?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Bro, my guy, the jail warden, is most hilarious dude that I've ever seen. He would be like tearing up one point, and then he'd be like ready to go. I'm not finished it, no spoilers, so I don't know who wins yet. But he is pure gold entertainment and needs to have his own show.
What is it? What is it called again?
It's called Barbecue Showdown.
Yeah,
it's a barbecue competition. But and then there's this lady who is she used to be a great barbecuer, and then her hand, whatever, I think she was the stroke that she had or something, so she can't really move her hand as much. She's a little slow.
Are you talking the one that's barbecuing the feet?
I'm nowhere near as far as you guys.
She's like an older lady, but it's good characters, bro. If it was written, it would be great character development.
And it's good to see too. They're cooking.
You gotta be eating when you watch it. Yeah,
they're cooking lobster.
Or you will be eating. Or you will be eating pretty soon after watching it.
Yeah, you watch an episode of that, you'll be building a fire pit.
That's my recommendation. And if you're reading the Bible, the Book of James, what I'm studying, that's got fire in it. But go ahead.
So as far as books, I'm gonna wait for next week for the books because I got a couple that I'm working on, and I don't want to lead you guys in the wrong place. But as far as shows, I got to give a little bit of respect to Eve for this. He put me on to Silo. I'm only a couple episodes in. It's not one of those shows that you can turn on while you're doing other stuff. Because I'll be honest, I watched the first episode 3 times. I was working, had it in the background, didn't catch it. There's too many intricacies. Remote. It's a really well done show. But you gotta it's gotta be one of those things that's full attention. You be a little baked, but don't be multitasking.
Yep. Okay, so jumping off on that, since Silo based on books, by the way, so maybe I'll give a book recommendation this time. If you haven't read any Kurt Vonnegut, he is one of the greatest American writers. He's very satirical. And the first book I read by him is Sirens of Titan, and it's really good. He's very funny, satirical, and it's a little bit science fiction-y. Of all the writers I've ever read, him and Sapkowski, I think, have a very, very the most distinct voices in storytelling, I think. So read Sirens of Titan by Vonnegut, or anything by Vonnegut is good. I've read a few of his.
Well, I'm not a dweeb, so I don't read, baby.
Illiterate.
1992.
The last book I read, Dr. Seuss.
10 out of 10.
No, the last book I read was Diary of Anne Frank, and they just left a bad taste in my mouth.
Oh my goodness!
No, I'm just kidding.
No, just kidding. You never read the book.
Recommendation, bro. What do you recommend?
No, I'm actually working on some books. Oddly enough, my wife took me to Barnes & Noble. My wife is an author, so when she found out that I don't read, she was like, "Are you illiterate? Just stupid?" And I was like, "Probably both, but definitely stupid." So I'm definitely getting back into reading now, right? Like my biggest thing with not reading is just like, man, my imagination is too vast, right? Like these bums don't come close. Like, I'm sorry, what? I don't. But no, like in all realistically, I definitely want to go see The Flash this weekend. So I recommend everybody else to go see it too.
Yeah.
It's not a book, but you will have a banging time because. Shout out to Michael Keaton. He's back. I heard Nick Cage is in the movie as Superman as well. So for y'all don't know, Nick Cage at one point in time was supposed to play Superman. And if he pulls in, bro, I swear to God, I'm going to go wild in the movie theater because let's be honest, Nick Cage? Nicolas Cage, baby, yeah.
Oh, he's Superman.
He was supposed to be the Tim Burton Superman and it got canceled. So I guess there's rumors that he's like a cameo in the movie. Yeah, he had long hair. Hey, let's jump in on that. The Flash, go watch it. I'm gonna say something though. Sarah Wayne Callis, I think. No. I forgot her name, but the girl who plays Supergirl, she's gonna be the best in the movie. I bet you.
Did you watch it yet?
Based on the trailers. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
So word of wisdom.
One last thing.
Word of wisdom. Oh, go ahead, Saeed.
Yo, anybody that went to go see Transformers, if you went to go see it for the plot, the movie isn't trash. You are. I'm sorry. If you want to go see Transformers for a story, plot, armor, like, come on, man. Okay, it's a gorilla that transforms into a robot next to a truck, that transforms into a robot next to a Porsche, that you guessed it transforms into a robot. So why the hell would I want a movie or a story when I could see that visual orgasm on the big screen, I guess you could say. But that was all I had to say about that.
That movie.
So go to Transformers 2. E, man, you're a hater, bro.
I'm gonna last on word. Saeed, give us word of wisdom.
Words of wisdom, Saeed.
Words of wisdom. Love your close ones, friends and family. Always check up on them. You never know what they're going through. They could always use that ear, especially now as a father. It's just one of those things where I become a lot more in touch with my, I guess you call it feminine side, but let's just be honest, more caring side. And it's always one of those things where, love to see my boys, especially during these times. Always love to see y'all have a little bit of banter. And just keep y'all close and keep your family close. And that's about it.
Yeah. Okay. So I think like there's something I need to work on. Maybe I just need to. So I've been trying to be more mindful. I mean, people don't usually know me as one of the more like hostile people, but I think I do catch myself sometimes being more being
hostile motherfucker. I know, dog.
So what? Anyway, so I'm like, so I just
hate every company in the world.
I'm sorry.
I just try to be more, just be mindful and be more.
I personally had like 3 fights with you in physical altercations.
Just try to be more considerate, and even though you're winning the argument or you're in the right, like just be forgiving and just be considerate. Some people make mistakes, and even you make mistakes yourself. So just be considerate.
Yeah, my words of wisdom, real quick. Put yourself through something difficult this week that you've been putting off.
That's a good one.
Going through something uncomfortable makes you a better person. Whether it's 2-a-days or I've been putting off working on my bathroom for a while. Bought a sander this week. Started actually hitting it today. Got into something that I wasn't necessarily like super familiar with, and just put yourself out there, make yourself uncomfortable, become a better human.
I like that. So I won't. So like this is going. I'll just say it. There's a difference between getting tested and being tempted. God does not test you, challenges you, and sometimes even puts obstacles for you to overcome. He does not tempt you to sin. He doesn't provide that. That's a weakness from your heart that the devil attacks. So if you're getting tested in this time, accept it. That's a challenge for growth. If you're getting tempted from this time, deny it. Because that's you're going down the path of that you do not want to return. We love y'all. We're still working on a name. So keep posted give us a name topics. Don't subscribe because we don't want fake fans here. Only real ones. You feel me?
Yeah.
God bless. Peace.
Hey, peace and love. God bless.
Love.